Hey guys, and welcome back, and welcome to how to find the least common denominator, here fourth, referred to as LCD, of rational expressions. And the main idea here is I don't want you to think that it's anything different than when you tried to find the LCD of your fractions, right? When you were adding and subtracting things together. Like, well, I have to make a common denominator. It's done the exact same way, right? Everything comes down to, well, let's look at the list of factors or the LCM, but we're going to be trying to find basically how to find the LCM of polynomials. That's what this is all going to boil down to. But still, the process is going to look exactly the same. I can't stress that enough when we do rational stuff. Everything that you learn about fractions is still applicable. We're just using polynomials now, or higher level polynomials, I guess I should say, instead of constants. So here we go. So why is the LCD important? Why are we going through this trouble in the first place? Well, it enables us to add and subtract rationals or add and subtract fractions, right? We can't add and subtract these guys unless we have a common denominator. It helps us create equivalent rational expressions. Be like, well, if I wanted to compare that rational and this rational, if I wanted to have some sense of, okay, well, who's bigger, who's smaller at a certain point, equivalence would help with that. It's used to solve rational equations, which we'll see in a later video. We'll solve rational equations, and to solve the rational equations, we'll be using the LCD, so we need to know how to figure out what that is first. And again, it helps us compare rationals. So creating them, comparing them, solving them. It's a really important thing. LCD. Alright, so how do we build the thing? Well, here are the steps. And the words may sound a little bit confusing, but just hang on with me, okay? So factor the denominators completely. Notice I don't say anything about the numerators. I don't even actually care, honestly, what the numerators are. LCD is all about denominators. Numerator can be whatever it wants to be. It just kind of goes off and gets a free pass for all this. After you factor the denominators completely, take each factor. So we have a list of factors, right? In each list of factors, look at each factor individually and take each factor the most amount of time it occurs. That's the most confusing statement ever, I know, but in practice I'll show you, kind of be like, oh, that's what she means. And doing that, we've built our LCD. So that's all we're doing in this video. We're just building the LCD. We're not going to be doing anything with it yet. So let's build some LCDs. So here's some examples. So I got 3 examples for you guys. And I'm going to take it all the way back to elementary school, and we're going to just find the LCD of a constant, right, or as we know them as fractions. And then I'm going to go up to linear, so you'll see an x, but it'll just be to the first power. And then I'll turn it up, and we'll just do mixed polynomials, like real rational stuff. All right, so we'll kind of go up the ladder here. So let's find the LCD of 5/6, 3/8, and 1/9. And like I said earlier, when doing this, I really don't care about these numerators. Okay, so step 1, factor all the denominators completely. So I'm going to make kind of like a little chart here, and you don't need to do this. This is just kind of more for a visual. So I got 6, I have 8, and I have 9. So I'm going to factor them completely. 6 is 2 times 3. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. With bigger numbers, you may need a factor tree for this. 9 is 3 times 3. All right, so that was step 1. Step 2 was take every factor the most amount of times it occurs. And this is what I mean by that very confusing worded statement. For my list for 6, I see a 2. Okay? Now, there's 1 2 here, there's 3 2's here, and there's no 2's here. So 2 is a factor. Okay? It occurs the most amount of times here. So I will take that list of 2's, not that list of 2's. So I take each individual factors, but I take it the most amount of times I see it. So in this case, I'm going to take the list of 3 2's, and I get rid of all the other ones. Okay? My next factor is 3. Well, 3, I have 1 3 here. I'm done with 2's. Ooh, there's 2 3's here. So I'm going to take it the most amount of times it occurs. So I'm not going to take those 3's. I'm going to take these 3's because there's more. And now I'm done because I've gone through all the 2's and I've gone through all the 3's and there's no other factors. Okay? Every single factor must be represented in your LCD. So even if there was something out here like a 5, I would have to put the 5 in. Okay? So every factor must be represented. It just has to be represented the most amount of times you see it in any of the lists. So in this case, my LCD would be 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24, times 3 is 72. So my LCD in this case would be 72. I found my LCD. All right, now let's throw some variables in it. So here, so again, I don't care about my numerators. I really don't. When I'm finding LCD, I don't care about numerators. I only care about denominators. So step 1, factor everything. So 2x plus 4, and I have to factor 2, and I have to factor 6x plus 12. Okay, 2x plus 4 factor. Looks like I can pull a 2, so that'll be 2 times x plus 2. All right, that's factor. How do I factor 2? Well, 2 is prime, so it is its own factor. 6x plus 12, common factor is 6, x plus 2. Okay. Oh, and then 6 I can break down into 2 times 3 times x plus 2. Alright, so I broke that down further, so that's actually this. Alright, now I look at every individual factor and I'm going to take it the most amount of times it occurs. Okay, I have a 2. I have 1, 2, I have 1, 2, and I have 1, 2. So the most amount of times a 2 occurs is 1. So it doesn't matter where I take it, I'm just going to take 1, 2. And knock out everybody else. Okay, so my LCD has to have a 2. Who else? Here's an x plus 2 factor. There's 1 here. There's also 1 here. So again, it doesn't matter where I take it, but I have to take 1. So I have to take one of the x plus 2's. Okay, what's another factor? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, 3. And this is my only 3, so it has to come. So if I clean this up, my LCD will be 6 times x plus 2. Done. LCD is that thing. 6 times x plus 2. And there we go. So factor everything. Go through the list of factors, take each factor the most amount of times it occurs, multiply all those together, and there's your LCD. All right, little bit more. So let's do the same thing. So again, I don't care about my numerators. So I factor my denominator. So one denominator is x squared plus 8x plus 12. And my other denominator is x plus 2. Alright, x squared plus 8x plus 12, two numbers that multiply to 12, that add to 8, I'm going to go x plus 2, x plus 6. Again, this is where factoring is so critical, and x plus 2 is its own factor. I can't factor that any further. Alright, let's go through our list and take each factor the most amount of times it occurs. Alright, I got an x plus 2 factor here, I have 1 here, and I have 1 here, so it doesn't matter which one I take, I just take 1. So my LCD will have an x plus 2 in it. And then x plus 6, since it's all by itself, I have to take it. Nobody else to compare with. So x plus 2 times x plus 6, that would be our LCD. My suggestion is to always leave your LCD in a factored form because it will help when you're simplifying. So LCD, x plus 2, x plus 6. Again, factor all the denominators that you see. Go through your list of factors, take each factor the most amount of times it occurs, and there it is. There's your LCD. So again, the steps. Factor the denominators completely. Take each factor the most amount of times it occurs. There you go. Multiply them together. That's your LCD. So thank you guys for playing along with me. I hope that helps. We still have a couple more videos to come if you haven't watched them already. So now that we have the LCD, now we can go and look at some adding and subtracting stuff. We can look at some multiplying and dividing stuff. And we can go on and look at how to solve when we have equations with these things set up too. So now that we have the LCD, there's a lot of stuff that we can do next. So I'll see you guys in the next video.